My girlfriend and I spent 9 days in Antigua and Lake Atitlán in Guatemala, and it was one of the best trips that we've taken. Here's what each place was like and what we'd recommend. Antigua is a charming, historic city surrounded by volcanoes. It's known for its cobblestone streets, colonial architecture, and relaxed vibe, other than the Acatenango hike, which I thought was kind of strenuous. Walking around here feels like you're immersed directly in the culture of the historic city. This is one of the top visited destinations in Guatemala for tourists, but it somehow doesn't feel that way. As we explored the food selection, a lot of it was obviously catered to tourists with many dishes that you'd find elsewhere in the world, like burgers, pizza, Asian cuisine, but you can also find local dishes around as well. Some of the best things to do in Antigua include the infamous Acatenango hike, Acatenango, and Arco de Santa Catalina. One of my favorite experiences was honestly just exploring the city and the ambience of all the restaurants. In almost every building that we entered, the inside would open up to a garden or terrace that felt inviting and exciting. If you have limited time here, I'd prioritize doing the Acatenango hike, which will take up to 2 days, and Covento Santa Clara. I also recommend taking your time to get lost in the city. In my experience, you find some of the best spots on a whim. The city felt extremely safe and all the locals here were very kind. Antigua also has a great food scene with everything from street food to nice cafes and restaurants. We especially like AM Breakfast for breakfast, El Porto for dessert or coffee, and ABC, which is Antigua Brewing Company. And don't judge, but I think McDonald's was the most beautiful chain restaurant that I've ever seen, and it's worth trying some Guatemala exclusives here. I recommend spending about 3 days here, 4 to 5 if you're going to do the Acatenango hike, because it'll take up about 2 full days. We were here around 3.5 days, and due to us doing the hike, we were left with about 1.5 days to explore the city, and we would have wished that we had a little bit more time. The city is very walkable, easy to get around, and tourist-friendly in our experience. We felt very safe here. One thing to know is that you need to book the Acatenango hike at least a month in advance. You could get lucky and find something last minute, but we were booking a month out, and we actually had to go with our second option for tour guides because the first option had already sold out. After Antigua, we headed to Lake Atitlán, and this was easily one of the highlights of the trip. The lake is surrounded by volcanoes and small villages, and the views were spectacular. Around the lake, there are several villages that you can visit, including San Pedro, San Marcos, San Juan, and Panachel, each one with a slightly different vibe. We stayed in San Pedro as our home base and visited San Juan and San Marcos during our trip. San Pedro is known as the party city with a good amount of bars lining the main street. We're not really big partiers, but we actually really enjoyed staying here. It didn't seem too loud and exciting during the time that we went. Our Airbnb was right on the main strip and it actually wasn't too loud at night. All the bars seemed to close at 11 when we were there, so it's not like Miami where things stay up super late. However, I did see online that some people mentioned that bars would stay open later till midnight or 2 a.m. depending on how many tourists are there. I'm not sure if that's the case, but for us, everything seemed to close at 11. It also wasn't very busy. There are a ton of good restaurants here, and we also ventured into the city a little bit, and the vibe completely changed to more of a local feel. As far as things to do here, of course, you can go out at night and have some drinks and explore the nightlife. During the day, I found San Pedro to be more relaxed, and we fully utilized it. You can rent paddle boards or kayaks to get out onto the lake. I would recommend exploring the inner part of the city for an authentic experience. And there are also a ton of hidden shops and restaurants down all of the different alleyways here. Also, Sababo Resort offers a 1-day pass where you can go and relax out by the pool, and we really enjoyed that. San Juan is also a short tuk-tuk ride away, which leads me into my next point. Compared to San Pedro, this town was a bit more touristy and lively with its large market streets. There are a lot of shops and areas to explore here. Notable things to do here are the Indian Nose hike. We didn't do the whole hike, and there are excursions that'll take you up either by tuk-tuk or bus that'll get you to a starting point where you can climb to the top. We actually did the hike that takes you up to the large White Cross, which is basically the starting point for the Indian Nose hike trail. You can actually continue on that path if you're up for an adventure and make it all the way to the Indian Nose Point lookout. There's also Calle de los Sombreros, which is the street of the hats, with many shops and areas to explore there, and Calle de las Sombrillas, which is street of the umbrellas. Similar to the street of the hats, it's a street with a lot of markets and shops and food and eateries. The vibe here I would call more free-spirited. Think of a yoga retreat and hippie type of vibe. We only explored about a half a day here, but in my experience, there's not as much as San Pedro's or San Juan. It's more of a relaxed, laid-back town. Notable things to do here are the Eagle's Nest, which is a mountaintop yoga studio. We booked a yoga session here the day before, and I did not anticipate the hike up to the location. It's actually really far away from where the boat drops you off, and it's a steep incline and a little easy to get lost. Don't be afraid to ask for directions and follow the arrows on the path, because the path does split a few times and you can easily end up going the wrong direction. There's also the nature reservation here. We ended up not doing this, but this is where you see people jumping off into Lake Atitlán. And this is also known as the best swimming spot in all of the lake. To get around the lake, you'll mostly use launches and tuk-tuks. Depending on how far you're going, the tuk-tuk should cost you anywhere from $5 to $15 US, and you can negotiate. And for the launches, we paid $8 for round-trip tickets to go from San Pedro's to San Marcos for 2 people. I did see online that some people had issues with buying the round-trip tickets, but it was no issue for us. I also recommend to bring cash in the form of quetzales, which is the local currency. There were restaurants here that were cash only and didn't take a card, and also you'll pay for the launches and tuk-tuks in cash. It's also nice to have cash so you can tip where you see applicable. Overall, in my experience, Guatemala is an affordable, beautiful, and easy travel to destination. This ended up being one of my favorite trips, and I definitely recommend adding Guatemala to your travel list. If you're planning a trip anytime soon, hopefully this gave you a good starting point.